Hey, welcome to Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and the bell if you want updates. Check out watchcomplications.com. You could also check out my Instagram at watch_complications. A few big things to discuss today. Obviously, I'm going to be going through doing a review for my low-cost series on the Timex Three GMT. Got it on my wrist. We'll take a much closer look in a second. But first and foremost, big news this week. I hit 5,000 subscribers. What are we going to do about it? It's a giveaway. Someone's going to get a new watch going into 2021. A couple videos back, I reviewed some strap adapters for Casio G-Shocks, and I will put the link in the description below for the form that I have people fill out when I do a giveaway. Of course, this is what it looks like. I will put the link for the strap adapter video above, and you'll get a choice of a strap along with the original red strap that came with it. So fill out the form, and perhaps you'll be the lucky one chosen. Make note, this is for US subscribers only. I'm sorry, it would cost too much in terms of international shipping and duties and all of that. It'd be better to just order direct if you wanted one of these. So if you're in the continental US, fill out that form, might get a new watch. I will mention one of the questions in the form is, what's the diameter of this watch? I would say only enter if you want a big watch on the wrist. It is a big G-Shock, all right? So that's that. Second, just yesterday, from the time I'm recording this video, Ansi and I released a new version of Watchee called WatcheePro on the Apple App Store for iOS. If you have an iPhone, check it out. I will put the website for Watchee in the description below, new website and everything. You can see which version. There's Watchee Lite, Watchee, and WatcheePro. It's got awesome plate designs. I'll be doing voiceover at this time in the video. Let me show you just a snippet, a preview of what this looks like. You can set custom plate designs that have thousands of combinations that are possible, changing the plate color, the crown, the font color, the info frame. There's an active chrono pusher. You can tap the cogs in the upper right. You can set origin and category. You can store time grapher data. There are all kinds of cool new features. If you want to learn more about it, check it out. My video next week is going to be a new overview, review, you might want to say, of the app, even though I'm directly involved with it. And I'll also do a giveaway of a free copy along with that video next week. So that's WatcheePro. Take a look. More on that soon. And three, the Three GMT from Timex. Let's take an up-close look. I'll talk about why I got it, and particularly with it being Quartz. I only have 3 Timexes. This one currently, the new GMT, the Expedition, and my iMac Timex clock from the 90s. My first item I ever bought off of eBay, again, mid-90s. I will say that I did look around at some other videos that reviewed intelligent quartz watches from Timex, and none of them really discuss what it really is or what's different about it from just a typical quartz. I will make a few comments about that, and I'll do something I didn't see in any other videos. I'm going to open it up and see what it actually looks like from the inside. All right, so I usually don't do an unboxing for a Timex, but this one actually looked nice enough in terms of the packaging. Probably the nicest Timex boxing I've ever seen, and so I thought, hey, why not just show a quick glimpse of it? So simple gray box, Timex. Again, this is a little bit better of a quality box than you would normally have with a Timex. I was actually a little bit surprised. I was expecting something much simpler. It's got Timex around all 4 sides. Nice styrofoam padding in this, and quite a large pillow, as you can see. There's a tag, and here's going to be the warranty information and operation manual, stuff like that. And then underneath the styrofoam, we see the Timex Three GMT on quite a nice cushion for, again, a Timex. Kind of neat. I haven't even taken the plastic off of this yet. Good secure box. Really liked it. That's a little bit lighter than I expected. The bracelet's light. I'll talk more about the operation of this thing, the quality of the polishing and the brushing on it, how it feels. Wanted, again, a cheap GMT quartz. I have said all the time. They've put protective plastic all along the bracelet, inside and out. I know I'm not going to like this clasp. Feels like pretty low quality, of course. Looks nice, but on the interior, you get the sharp edges and things you would normally expect to see on a bracelet with a $100 watch. There's no protector on the glass. a little bit surprising in the bezel. There's the little stopper that keeps the crown out so it isn't using battery when it's on the shelf or whatever. It's like they put a couple stickers here on the back I'm going to have to take off. There's no big sticker overall, so these are usually pretty annoying to get off of case backs. So we'll see what it looks like once we start getting a little bit closer look. Let's go. So in an effort to show as much about this as possible, how to resize the bracelet on a watch like this. These are push pins. This end is split, which will open up once that pin is no longer in there. Whenever it's pushed in, it wants to pop open, so it's just pressurized essentially on the inside. Here's the end from which you push, which is just a solid end. And you can see the arrows indicate what direction you would push the pin. Simple, low-cost pin pushing tool. Of course, I've shown a lot of these sort of things in my tool videos or in other resizing videos. There are some risers that come with these so you can get the bracelet sitting up at the right height. So I've got it set on there, and then I'm just going to lay the bracelet across the top, and I'm going to take a couple links out on both sides. So I'm going to lay this down in here so you just get it lined up correctly, and you want it to be as straight as possible, and it will just push the pin out the other side. So tighten this up. It doesn't take much. You see that didn't take much. Go with it just a little bit more. There we go. Pull that out. And then you can see that pin looks like. Of course, when you're wanting to put the links back together, you just push this down inside, and you can see how with that split at the end like that, how that keeps pressure on, keeps the pin in the hole while you're wearing the watch. And you can just pull those out pretty easily. Okay, now I'm going to take, like I said, 2 links out of each side and see if that's a good fit. And then if I need to remove any more, I will. If not, hopefully it fits. Now, another way to do this, just to show you another method, is just your trusty old Bergeon 6767. These don't take a lot of pressure. You might even be able to push it out that way as well. Just be a little more careful. You don't want to slip. These things are kind of sharp. So there's another way to do it as well. Now that I have the links removed, I've pushed ends of the bracelet back together, slid one of the pins down inside, and then you can just take a nice soft mallet hammer and just give it a couple little taps down, and you can push it in a little bit more if you want to. That's how it works. Now we have it sized up what fits. The unfortunate truth about these types of bracelets is that there's no micro adjust. The unfortunate thing is that these links, they're closer to a full length size that you'd find on a higher quality bracelet, but they're somewhere between a full and a half. And so the issue is that with 4 of these links out, way too tight. So I put another link back in, so I took 3 links out total, and it's just a tad looser than I would like. So it's got some movement about it. And there's no compromise there. It's either you're going to have a little bit tight or a little bit loose on some wrists, so it'll fit some people fine whenever you're using these links. And it will also change with the temperature. This will probably fit a little bit more snug and better during the summer months. Winter, a little bit colder, it's going to feel a little bit looser. It's just one of those things you have to deal with. I'll probably replace it with some sort of rubber strap though. Black, blue, something. But anyway, that's how you could go about resizing the bracelet on this particular and some other Timexes that use same style of bracelet. So here's what our Timex 3 GMT looks like on the wrist. You can see I now have it on a silicone rubber strap. This is one I got off Amazon for like 15-20 bucks. Cardi is the name of the brand, but they make some decent quick release silicone straps. As we get it off the wrist and flip it over and take a look at the back, where you'll see most of the basic information about the watch. You'll see it's the Timex Intelligent Quartz, and the specific model we have here is the TW2R4 3500. The list price on this is around 200 bucks. However, if you were going to look on Amazon, you can get a pretty decent deal. I got this for $99.99. That's what I paid for it. It fluctuates a little bit. I looked today, it was $108.99. So this is the polished stainless steel case. There's also a black version of this. It's out of stock on Timex's site. I couldn't find it really anywhere else except overseas. If I could go back, I would have probably preferred that version for this type of a watch and wear, also just because of the polishing is just, you know, so-so on a Timex. And so I think I would prefer the black version. So why did I get this watch? Well, I need to keep track of a friend over in Finland. It's kind of a crazy watch enthusiast dude. So anyway, got to keep track of someone else in another time zone. And I only have one other GMT in my collection currently, and that's my GS, my Grand Seiko Blizzard, which is a dressier watch. I like wearing it. I wear it around the house sometimes, but it's mechanical GMT, and so if I put it on for a day, go through the trouble of setting it, and then it stays good for a few days. So I wanted something I could just pick up, pull out of the case, and it was set, ready to go, and didn't have to think or worry about it. That meant Quartz. I'm not a huge fan of Quartz watches. I just don't get the same feel from them. Most watch enthusiasts would probably say the same thing. I'd much prefer a mechanical GMT movement. However, I, again, wanted something that was easy, ready to go at any point. I have what I think are some really good videos coming in 2021. Things like, most abused complications, lug designs, watch cufflinks, brand loyalty. But I'm also going to do one, I think, on Quartz watches for a mechanical watch enthusiast. And there are a few that I think are worth having around, but only a few. Something like this, a GMT, is one of those, I believe. Now, all the sites list this diameter at 43 millimeter. That's a little generous. I measured it almost in all locations, not including the crown and the pusher, at about 44, so just under 44 millimeter. So I would really call it 44 millimeter, and at least it looks that way as well on the wrist. Lug to lug, pretty wide, 52.15 millimeter. It's got a 22 millimeter strap width, lug width. The height is 13.2, so it's high, but not crazy high. The weight is about 130 grams on the bracelet and about 95 grams on this rubber strap. Water resistance is good at 100 meters, and the crystal is mineral, so a little bit better than acrylic, obviously. We'll get to the movement in a little bit. The bezel is unidirectional. This is called the 3 GMT. The reason why, I'm assuming, is because there are 3 24-hour tracks on the face of this watch. You have the bezel, 24-hour track. You have the inner bezel here, also 24-hour track that has alternating. So you've got the even numbers on the bezel, you have the odd numbers on the inner bezel, and then you have the 12-hour time here with the 12, 3, 6, and 9. But the inner track is also 24-hour time. So you have 3 24-hour tracks on this. It can be a little bit, too much to a certain extent. I kind of wish that there was just the 12-hour track on the interior instead of this mix. They should have just done a regular interior 12-hour track, and I would have been happy with that, having even numbers on the outside, odd numbers on the inside, and then regular 12-hour track. I would have much preferred that look, and probably would have made it felt even a little bit simpler, a little bit cleaner on the face. The seconds hand and the 24-hour hand are sort of a reddish orange and stand out pretty well in most light as well. That's pretty good. So the pros of this watch. I was looking for quite a while. I sifted through so many ads and sites and Amazon listings and eBay listings, finding a Quartz GMT that had a simple look about it, and this is about as simple as you can get with a Quartz GMT. Most of them are just information overload on the dial face with all kinds of other tracks and features and complications, and it's just a mess. I wanted just a plain simple GMT. I would have been okay if it didn't have the date on it, but you're not going to find a GMT without a date typically. That's one of the bigger pros I think that this has going for it when you compare it to the competition. Particularly think of something like a Citizen watch that's just like busy. The cost being okay, $100. It's Quartz, so that's about my boundary for that. But it's got a simple pusher for the GMT. That's also nice, and it moves in half-hour jumps. So simple pusher to set the GMT hand, and again, it moves in half-hour jumps. There are half-hour time zones out there, and it can be difficult to find a GMT that moves in half-hour jumps as opposed to hour. Typically, most GMTs move on the hour. But there are some half-hour time zones out there. So it's a simple push, and you can see it moves in half-hour jumps. Okay, you can hold it down, and it'll move quickly around. Pretty cool. and you can pick up where we left off. I can't even remember if that's where I left off. It's close. And one of my biggest things, and I'm sure for many of you, that drives you nuts with a Quartz is if you get a Quartz watch, you really want that seconds hand to be on the markers. You can see this one is. It's always a gamble. You know, when you get one, particularly if it's, you know, via shipping, you buy it from an online site or something like that. If you're not in a store where you can see and make sure that it's on, the one you pick, the seconds hand is on the marker. So this one's pretty good, and so I was happy about that. You may not get that same experience if you order one of these online. Just something to make mention of. That's a pro of the one that I got. May not happen for everybody. It's sort of luck of the draw, right? Another pro I want to mention is I actually like the way the date looks like a little bit more like a trapezoid. It's smaller on the left and then extends and grows as it goes toward the right. I kind of like that design. And that does mean, though, and you kind of see it up close, is that the numbers on the left, this 2 in this current situation, December 23rd, is a little bit smaller, and the 3 is a little bit bigger. That date wheel matches the design of the window very well. It's very sharp, clean, but I really like that design of the date window getting bigger from left to right. I've seen it on a few watches, and I think it's just a cool little fun feature. Now you saw me change the links out on the bracelet. One of the pros is that these simple push pins make it really easy to change and readjust the bracelet. However, again, it's going to be much, much better on a different strap, not the Timex bracelet that came with it. Of course, staple of Timex is Indiglo. It's nice having that. You can't really see it in the video. I'll throw a picture in here of using Indiglo. Just push the crown, and of course, Indiglo turns on and will light the face of the watch. So those are the big pros, but like all watches, it has some issues about it. And so what are those? Well, the bracelet, I already mentioned, just not, you know, the best of quality. It feels okay. You know, for a $100 watch, you can't expect too much. What really drives me nuts most about these are the inner parts of the clasp. These just feel and look very cheaply made as always, whereas the exterior looks, you know, halfway decent. Okay, this is a mix of brushed and polished. See, the center of the links is polished, and then the sides are brushed. The other thing I'll mention about the bracelet is that the end links aren't solid, they're hollow. So when someone says solid end links, what they mean is that this link that connects to the actual case, is it hollow or solid? And these are hollow. So it has a little bit of obviously a cheaper feel about it. It looks generally okay, but you would much prefer something solid right up next to the case. Put it on a different strap, you're going to like it better. Some sort of silicone, rubber, or canvas would look really good. Polishing, again, it could be worse, but I just would prefer this probably brushed as opposed to polished out. Again, I might prefer that black version of this as opposed to the stainless steel look. Pointed lugs, they're a little bit too pointed for me. It curves and wraps nicely around the wrist, but they're actually kind of a little bit sharper than you would expect, and so a little bit too pointed on the lugs for me. You know, that's just a small quirk that I dislike about it. Another con with this watch is the lume. The hands are lumed. You might see these little dots at 12, 3, 6, and 9. Those have just a tad of lume. Some of these recesses, which give you the indication that they are lumed, I think they are, but it takes a lot of light to charge them to any extent, and then it's still so faint, it's almost like they're not even there. The dots a little bit more so. Really the only thing that has lume that stands out once charged are the hands. Then again, that's why you have the Indiglo, is so that you can see the dial face at night. You just push in the crown and you're good to go. Now for the biggest con is one that is one reason you buy a GMT watch, and that is the bezel. It's unidirectional, so it only turns in counterclockwise, but you cannot just with, you know, the tip of your index finger or your thumb turn the bezel very easily. It's actually really hard to turn. You've got to use the whole sides of your fingers to get this to turn very well. It just doesn't have a good way to grip. As you can see, it's fairly slim, low profile, which is a nice aspect about it, but it doesn't extend from the case far enough to get a good grip on it. And so there's no good way to grab this outer track and turn the bezel. You really got to use the whole size of your fingers. And That's probably the most irritating thing about it, because you just kind of want to naturally just put your fingers here and easily turn. It's polished, high polished. It just, your fingers will slip, particularly if they're just a little sweaty. But no, it's hard to actually turn this. And you certainly can't turn it very easily on the crown side. So you got to do it at the lugs, which means you can't turn it when it's on your wrist very easily, if at all. And then when you're using the sides of your fingers, it's kind of hard to actually see, because your fingers are in the way, where you're actually at as you're turning it. That's the biggest con of this watch, is that this bezel functionality is clunky. It's hard to turn it, just that simple. But it's not something you're maybe going to turn too often, depending on how you're using that GMT hand. So, you know, there's that. That's the biggest con. All right, I'm going to do something most other reviewers don't do with any of their watches, mechanical or quartz. I'm going to open this thing up and see what this looks like on the inside. Let's do it. Some people might be like, no, don't do it. And I was like, should I do it? And I thought, I wonder how close that is. It's a little bit out of alignment. See, if I take it off, I can put it back exactly. It needs to be moved just a little bit, so it's perfectly aligned. So I'm not crazy, really not. I'm going to use the big screwdriver here to pop this off. So get under here. And shouldn't take too much convincing. Nope. Pop. And inside the Timex we go. You see the battery there. They list it on the outside of the case as well, to CR 2016. So if you're going to have to replace the battery on one of these at some point, it's what it is. I just want to give you a look at what this is like on the inside. Pretty sophisticated look for a quartz watch. So again, you'll notice that there's something quite different about it compared to a typical quartz. You can see we've got Timex Philippines, we've got the reset button here, push to remove the stem. See the pusher contacts here on the inside, and then we see a 304 right there. And that's probably their number for the movement, which I saw on the case as well. But I wanted to see what this looked like on the inside. Right there it is, 304. So there's that. The battery holder is pretty interesting there. Looks like maybe it's just a little twist, pops it off, which is a design I've not seen inside of a quartz watch before. So it's certainly, you know, their proprietary movement. It's certainly different. There's a lot more going on. So what is this intelligent quartz about? You can see the circuitry down here. That's the PCB board. And there's a little bit more of it than you would normally have with a quartz, at least exposed. The intelligent quartz has independent motors for the hands and such, different sensors, microprocessor tech in it than a typical quartz would have, or things that a standard quartz just doesn't have. So there's certainly more to it. And I was kind of interested to see what this looked like on the inside. Now we know. I am not going to take it apart right now because I don't need to, and I don't want to have to reset it. But at least that gives you an idea what's on the inside. Typical holder you would see for such a movement. Yeah, I'll look forward to taking that apart someday, maybe. We'll see. All right, well, that's that. I'm going to snap the case back on, and then we will finish things up. I hope you found that to be a fun little look at this Timex 3 GMT. Really is an okay option for someone who maybe doesn't wear mechanical GMT all the time, but still travels a lot, wanting to keep track of people in other time zones. That's why I got it. Keep track of Anssi over there in Finland, my co-developer for Watchee. Again, check that out. It's in the description below, and enter the giveaway for the G-Shock GA-100B. Form link in the description below. Ends on December 31st. Why not get a new watch for this new year? 2020, good riddance, right? So I'll see you again soon. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell if you want updates. Check out my website, watchcomplications.com, and follow me on Instagram at watch_complications. I am Brian, and I am out.